Greetings. My name is Todd Choker, and Tatiana and I are both part of a group within AWS ProServe that helps ensure our cumulative knowledge and best practices for migrating to AWS are accessible to all of our customers, whether they engage with ProServe, one of our partners, or lead their own cloud initiatives. We'd like to spend a little time with you talking about one of the key first engagements to help set you on a good path to a successful migration, which may be step one in accelerating the overall transformation journey for your organization, the MRA, or Migration Readiness Assessment Workshop. You will learn how the MRA can help unlock, unblock, and declock your migration to AWS. Now, what does that mean, you ask? Well, let's talk about unlock. The MRA, as a launching mechanism for a healthy migration, can help unlock the value of the cloud. Migrating to the cloud can open doors to additional opportunities for a more holistic digital transformation. And unblock? As we will discuss, there are both technical and non-technical obstacles that could stall or stop a healthy migration. It's the start that stops most people, so ensuring a good start is key to unblocking your progress. And as far as declock, achieving your business outcomes as quickly as possible is our overriding objective. By taking the time to complete an all-hands-on-deck workshop and launch event at the start of your initiative, you can declock the time to value and accelerate your progress by jointly developing a plan of action. But first, let me briefly go over our agenda. Our agenda today will touch briefly on the various elements of value of moving to the cloud and how you can kick off and accelerate towards your business outcomes. We'll walk you through our overall migration framework and explain how the MRA acts as the kickoff for a proven approach to align your team, and give your actions some traction based on AWS developed best practices. So let's get started. As I mentioned, migrating to the cloud is often just step one of a larger journey for all of our customers, but it can also be a key enabler towards a wider set of objectives. It can provide instant value in regard to alleviating undifferentiated heavy lifting and the costs associated with data center management. But it also unlocks the potential for more modern and innovative solutions and ways of working as part of a grander transformation journey. Helping you start your journey via a successful migration often opens the greater potential of the benefits of operating in the cloud. And whether it's AWS or one of our qualified partners, we are prepared to engage at whatever level fits for your adoption approach. So let's look at some recent success stories where the MRA helped move organizations forward. For example, Bank Colombia, a preeminent financial institution, where the MRA was a key driver to building a cloud skill training plan to better enable their cloud center of excellence and their greater organization for operating in the cloud. And NeoWiz, a South Korean online gaming company that is pursuing global market development, where we observed that the MRA was very helpful for establishing the plan for their migration and reaching consensus and alignment across various divisions and reducing the communication blockers that existed. And then there's Cvent, a 22-year-old event management software company that is used by more than 200,000 users, where the CEO asked for a second MRA to help them rescore their progress on building cloud capabilities within their organization. This is an engagement we recently highlighted based on the customer and AWS team's use of our best practice guidance for using the MRA and following it up with CCOE, or Cloud Center of Excellence, and landing zone exercises, and over 21 immersion days led by AWS solution architect teams. We are on track to deliver hundreds of high-value AWS-led MRA engagements this year, and our partner network will be delivering increasingly more as well. While we continue to enhance this mechanism, the MRA has been helping organizations shape the start of what might be their first or their nth migration to AWS for a number of years. And nearly each time we hear the same thing, that it uncovered a key nuance that, had it gone unaddressed, would have likely slowed the organization's transformation and delivery of critical outcomes. Okay, so why do an MRA? Like those organizations I just mentioned, we have seen businesses that accelerate migration and modernization initiatives all implement in a similar way. First, their leadership establishes clear expectations and scope. Second, their domain leaders align the mindsets of their teams. Third, their cross-functional teams assess the current state and desired end state to strengthen requirements gathering, expectations, and solutioning. And fourth, they engage in transparent discussions that are used to shift the focus to the challenges and constraints that are the real blockers. We bring all these things together in the MRA experience. We will show how the pre-workshop, workshop, and post-workshop activities all work in concert to bring levels of value regarding aligning the team, addressing areas of opportunity to grow, and putting a time-bound plan in place to launch forward. Whether you are a mature cloud adopter or are new to adopting these game-changing capabilities, we will tailor this engagement with you so that it fits your current state, future state, and team dynamics, and delivers high-value conversations of consequence with tangible outputs for your business centered around the theme of taking action. And while the workshop itself and the discussion that it drives is often one of the most appreciated pieces of this engagement, we also have very well-constructed deliverables for your team to use going forward. Looking at the top row on this slide, you'll see the visual depictions of the self-assessment that we lead your team through, including an executive overview with a restatement of your expressed objectives and current level of capability against what we call our Cloud Adoption Framework, or CAF model, as well as a heat map and scoreboard for the readiness activities within various work streams that we've built as fundamental to healthy operations within the cloud. And then looking at the bottom row, you'll see how we take your own reflections and our observations and marry them with our best practice planning and delivery experience to build time-bound plans to prepare your organization for the next phase of your journey, and literally the next actions to add to your calendar to get the team moving on that plan. From observations to insights to action, the MRA workshop and readout session lets your team see the path ahead and demystifies the "where do we start" ambiguity. It is part of a well-honed and proven framework for accelerating your outcomes. And with that, I'll turn it over to Tatiana to talk about that framework and the step-by-step engagement elements around this front-end mechanism called the MRA. Tatiana?
Thank you, Todd. Based on years of migration experience, we developed the methodology, best practices, tools, and services to help simplify and accelerate migrations for our customers. All of those became elements of a framework that we systematically use to help our customers structure and guide their migration journeys. Our migration framework approaches large-scale migrations in 3 phases: assess, mobilize, migrate, and modernize. Assess phase is designed to set the foundation for a well-planned and delivered migration, which includes assessing your readiness for operating in the cloud, developing a business case with right key performance indicators and metrics, and aligning key stakeholders and leadership on business goals. Mobilize phase is designed to take outputs of the assess phase and build foundational capability both in your organization and within the AWS environment to support migrations at scale. This will include building a landing zone, driving operational readiness, incorporating security controls, and developing cloud skills with hands-on migration experience. Then the migrate and modernize phase will use patterns, processes, tools, resources, and methodology defined and tested during Mobilize to migrate applications at scale. And as Todd mentioned, a migration readiness assessment in the assess phase of this framework helps you determine your organization's capabilities and build an action plan to close any critical gaps which potentially may put your migration project at risk. And briefings, workshops, and immersion days are some of the mechanisms that we have in AWS to help you bridge those identified gaps. So, what should you expect from the MRA engagement? The MRA engagement journey starts with some preparation work. That involves scheduling the actual workshop and post-workshop sessions, as well as identifying required participants. Another element of work in the pre-workshop stage is the completion of the pre-workshop questionnaire. The pre-workshop questionnaire is designed to reduce the time it takes to conduct the interactive workshop and also to collect some data points upfront. That allows us to fine-tune the content for the workshop to better align with the organization's current state and targeted outcomes. The main component of the MRA engagement is the workshop, which is facilitated by a migration expert from AWS or partner organization, which will depend on the delivery model you select for the migration initiative. So if you work with one of our consulting partners on this particular project, then it's most likely that the MRA is delivered by the partner. Our partners have access to the same methodology and tools as our internal teams to deliver the MRA engagement. The MRA workshop is a combination of executive kickoff, Q&A session, and interactive activities. During the executive kickoff, we gain leadership perspective on business drivers and organizational goals. We normally discuss short and long-term objectives, risks, and issues related to IT and business. This particular conversation allows us to get cross-functional teams' alignment on common goals and objectives. MRA may also include knowledge transfer and decision-making activities, which facilitate open discussions and introduce your organization to some concepts that help prepare for the next phase of the cloud journey. That may include conversations around agile methodology, different migration patterns, and portfolio discovery methodology. This information will help you start making decisions earlier on to ensure an accelerated path forward. Later in this presentation, Todd will give you a more detailed overview of activities which may be included in the MRA workshop. The workshop assessment component is focused on assessing your organization's readiness for large-scale migration across business and technical capabilities. Going through this activity allows us to bring different stakeholders to consensus around their team's current maturity and bridge any existing knowledge gaps across cross-functional groups. It allows us to bring visibility into interdependencies between different domains and also discover potential blockers so that we can develop a plan for addressing them. And the final outcome of the entire engagement is the detailed results readout, which occur the same day as the workshop or might be scheduled shortly after. The readout session is designed to ensure that all the observations and gaps are understood by all relevant stakeholders, but most importantly, any near-term actions are documented and agreed upon. The workshop is usually a one-day event based on the current maturity level and level of alignment across teams. It takes an average 4 to 6 hours to complete. All right. In the rest of the presentation, we will do a deep dive on each stage of the MRA engagement, the pre-workshop, workshop, and post-workshop activities. And we will start with the pre-workshop stage. So, what exactly the preparation work for the MRA workshop entails? One of the essential prerequisites for a successful MRA engagement is identifying and aligning resources to support each of its activities. In general, pre-workshop questionnaire, workshop, the assessment analysis and action planning should see an active participation from the initiative sponsor and current or future members of your cloud team, the team that will drive and support all cloud initiatives and provide oversight over your entire cloud estate. The participants should represent cross-functional roles and stakeholders within your organization, such as infrastructure, security, operations teams, and business units. The reason for bringing all of these stakeholders into the conversation is to help develop deeper understanding about current state and interdependencies between different technical and business domains, which are required for an effective migration to the cloud. Having those various stakeholders in the room during the workshop also allows us to break down silos and to align various teams and leaders on business drivers, organizational strategy, and the action plan to move forward. We learned that through hundreds of thousands of migrations we supported that cross-functional teams alignment and understanding of the strategy and the implementation roadmap is one of the most critical contributors to a successful delivery of a cloud initiative. And the MRA is a great opportunity to achieve that in your organization. As you remember from the MRA engagement journey overview, another step in the pre-workshop stage is the completion of the pre-workshop questionnaire. Right now, we have around 70 questions within the core module of the MRA assessment, with approximately 20 of those questions managed through the pre-workshop questionnaire. The pre-workshop questionnaire is sent to all relevant stakeholders within your organization prior to the workshop. The executive sponsor for the migration initiative will have an ability to assign the questionnaire to participants and to track the progress of its completion. Similar to how we conduct the MRA workshop itself, the pre-workshop questionnaire is supported by an online tool that you will be able to access following simple instructions in the invitation email. Multiple participants will be able to provide their responses asynchronously. They will be able to take the questionnaire on their own schedule and provide their independent opinion on the current readiness of their organization to support the initiative. The results of the pre-workshop questionnaire then will be analyzed by the MRA facilitator. Using data acquired through the pre-workshop questionnaire, as well as through any previous engagements, facilitator would tweak and customize the workshop to ensure that we cover areas relevant to your business and to your particular use case. That upfront data collection also allows us to reduce the time it takes to conduct the discovery during the workshop and maybe spend it on additional interactive activities or cover topics of interest for your organization. Now, when you know all the elements of the pre-workshop stage, I will turn it over to Todd to talk about the MRA workshop.
Okay, so after the pre-work is done and the workshop event itself begins, what can you expect? Many associate the MRA with just being an assessment, a series of question and answer to help AWS shape our work to get you to the cloud. But that is far from the case. This engagement is about you. The front of the workshop is all about activities that help clarify key decisions around outcomes and how you want to work, and lets your team address the elephants, gorillas, and other large animals in the room that might get in the way. While the first activity is about restating out loud your why for moving to the cloud so everyone understands the drivers, mandates, and business case. The second activity lets you talk about those wild animals I mentioned, what we call friction points, or the principal blockers we've identified, both technical and non-technical in nature, that can cause your initiative to stall. Things like assuring everyone in the room has the same view of where you want to go and is empowered to take decisions and won't get stuck with analysis paralysis before moving forward. Or avoiding the belief that there's a perfect architecture and helping to reinforce an agile approach and a growth mindset. Being confident enough to be vulnerable and admit where there may be gaps in capability so they can be addressed through training and experience. Or recognizing that this is a change of significance and will require some reskilling of individuals and teams in order for you to be successful. Again, there is power in saying it out loud so you can anticipate and act on areas of anxiety and inadequacies before they stand in the way of your objectives. And then the next activity allows you to use that reflection of your current state capabilities and intentions related to how you want to work and puts a decision in front of your team that is fundamental to driving the next phase. What operating model do you want to adopt, and what level of undifferentiated heavy lifting associated with managing the aspects of IT that are below the top level value layer are you prepared to give up so your teams can focus on what's unique to your business? Your teams will have a chance to talk through a modernization of their responsibilities and definitions of value to the business. Perhaps there are reasons to continue control over generic operating system and middleware aspects of your IT infrastructure. Or perhaps you are already ready to drop those anchors of activity and double down on the application layer that touches your customers and the data that drives business decisions for your organization, rather than the aspects of IT that we've perfected and manage at scale for thousands of customers. And related to that, the fourth activity of the MRA engages your team in a decision-making exercise in how to start enabling a core team that can drive organizational change and a broader enablement for working in the cloud, so that the benefits aren't just realized in the IT teams, but in every department within your business that needs to use data to drive decisions. The Cloud Center of Excellence, or rather the Cloud Enablement Engine. Depending on where you are as an organization in adopting cloud-based capabilities within your IT landscape, a core team can be an integral part in laying the foundation for how training and enablement progresses for your business. Over time, as your organization becomes more and more adept and accustomed to working in an environment that is empowered by the value of the cloud, you will see an expansion from this core team into product teams and others to drive outcomes for your business. And, often allaying many fears, this activity will help your leadership team envision a construct where critical skills are better aligned to business needs and driving top line and bottom line value, and the demand for these skills will do anything but go away. So now we've set the stage. We've done some pre-work. We've come together and through a series of activities, we've started to get aligned on a future state. So what's next? Well, let's talk about the cloud adoption framework that I mentioned earlier and how the MRA takes advantage of a professional online tool to drive further dialogue around 6 core perspectives and the capabilities within those perspectives for driving a healthy migration. After the activities comes a best practice based reflective dialogue with a professional facilitator using a set of questions we've assembled along our cloud adoption framework. Our CAF framework represents a holistic approach to looking at cloud capabilities. It includes business and technical aspects with 3 perspectives in each, covering business, people, governance, platform security, and operational elements. Some example questions are listed on the screen and cover the business aspects that enable success, such as having a dedicated team and leader, to having a confirmed business case and governance model for working in the cloud. From a technical perspective, it also probes aspects of your foundational architecture and security practices. We will help you revisit or think through for the first time your DevOps approach, strategy for encryption, setting up of monitoring and access controls, and how to enable post-migration modernization opportunities for your business. Even if you think you have a clear business case and no need to review these elements, or are well practiced in using cloud-based approaches, do not skip these areas too quickly. More often than not, even the most aligned and advanced teams have an aha moment going through these detailed questions and develop actions they otherwise would not have known were necessary. And it's important to remember and remind all involved that this is not a test. You do not pass or fail an MRA. A healthy team will use these questions to get a common sense of their current situation so that actions can be taken when gaps exist that could stand in the way of progress. For each perspective and category, we use an online tool that walks your team through a series of questions where everyone is able to vote on their perception of your current state regarding multiple win at cloud capabilities. Each question, which often includes multiple related aspects of a cloud capability, will be presented with both supporting contextual reference as well as a differentiated rating guide. As you saw earlier, the facilitator may have some pre-event polling results available, but they are also able to open up a live session with everyone at the table so that unbiased inputs can be gathered and discussed openly as a team. Again, it's this rich dialogue and convergence of perspective that provides significant value to aligning your organization for the journey ahead. This process will be repeated through all the questions for all the perspectives and then grouped to formulate rating scores and to combine observations. Take your time. The better the dialogue, capturing of key remarks and observations, and honest reflection of your current state, the better. These ratings just help inform our facilitators and their post-workshop analysis, where they come up with recommended actions of a wide variety to meet the unique needs of your team and organization, which Tatiana will describe more later. And when done well, it is as much about having cross-functional conversations and resolving the variances in perceptions, as well as establishing a plan of action, as it is about a perfectly accurate score. The score is a single snapshot and just informs the formation of a good plan. It's the plan of action where the observations and insights drive progress for achieving your objectives, which Tatiana will describe more thoroughly next.
All right. Once the MRA workshop is complete, the AWS team will review and analyze the results and consider the right combination of activities for your organization to pursue in preparing for and launching your initiative. This process results in some very tactical deliverables, which will be presented to you as part of the MRA engagement readout session. First, you will receive the assessment report, which represents the results of the discovery portion of the MRA. This is your current maturity level across various cloud adoption framework perspectives and the migration work streams. This information will be presented to you in several different ways. The executive summary will be a reflection of what we heard during the executive kickoff and a short summary of maturity assessment results. This is something that will help align leaders in your organization on common objectives, current strengths, and gaps. You will also receive a heat map view of your organization's current maturity levels and readiness scores across various work streams and capabilities, which are very important for a migration project and are also components of our standard Mobilize phase. That makes it easy to map the strengths and gaps discovered during the MRA with the scope and proposal for the next phase of your cloud journey. Even though we have a very structured, score-based assessment approach, in no way those assessment results should be treated as an indication of the complexity, difficulty of your migration, or your company's overall ability to migrate and operate in the cloud. An MRA is the readiness assessment of many of the common factors that slow or stall companies when they migrate at scale. Many companies that are very knowledgeable about cloud operations can still be impacted by issues surfaced during the MRA. And the purpose of the assessment is to help you identify gaps in your planning and skills and to address specific known risks encountered previously across Amazon's extensive experience migrating similar customers at scale. And to accomplish that, the facilitator will take the results of the assessment and provide recommendations for all applicable areas. But most importantly, facilitator will also identify few near-term activities that will help you address high priority gaps. We call it a prioritized list of actions. And then facilitator will work with you on identifying the right next steps to align on roles and responsibilities for specific action items that the people in the room should carry with them. For instance, if it was decided that your team would benefit from attending a security briefing workshop, the next step would be to schedule that workshop. AWS team in this case would be accountable for working with you on dates and aligning resources on both sides. And finally, all of the assessment results and the recommended actions will be reflected in the detailed roadmap for both immediate post-MRA stage, which should be accomplished within 4 weeks of the MRA itself, and the Mobilize phase delivery, which will prepare you to initiate your migration at scale program. We build this in the form of weekly sprint plans and implement an agile methodology to deliver across the work streams of relevance. So you can see that the MRA not only helps us create a plan for addressing any critical gaps, but also to structure and plan Mobilize phase of the journey. For instance, you may know that during Mobilize phase, one of the areas that we work on is the build of baseline environment for running secure and scalable workloads in AWS. That encompasses account structure, networking, access, security, and governance controls, something that we call a landing zone. So if during MRA we discover that you already have a landing zone set up, then Mobilize phase, instead of designing a landing zone from scratch, we will be more focused on validating your existing landing zone and ensuring that it meets all the requirements for supporting workloads in scope and follows our best practices. We instead will look at what kind of deployment mechanisms you use and advise and implement automation to improve business agility while maintaining governance and control over cost, compliance, and security of your foundational environment. And now let's take a closer look at an example prioritized list of actions. You will see that the actions on this list map to specific objectives. In general, in the post-MRA period, we expect customers to, first of all, have a compelling commitment to move into the next phase. That will include financial awareness of the value and an accepted business case. We also want customers to identify a single-threaded leader who has authority within your organization to increase decision velocity. We also want that leader engage with owners of workloads targeted for the migration and gain their support for the program, especially if they operate in any distributed technology organization. Another critical element is for customers to establish any governance structures and staff their cloud team resources who will enable migration activities and processes. We also want customers to take basic training to ensure that they have the skills required for their contribution to the initiative and for an accelerated Mobilize phase delivery. We want customers to have an understanding of the overall AWS security model and determine the need for and complete any applicable third-party risk assessments. Customers also need to confirm their decision regarding the roles of partner and AWS, as well as the operating model that they will adopt as part of their journey. If partners play any role in the initiative, customers should involve the partner in the cloud transformation strategy and planning as early as possible. The detailed portfolio discovery exercise should begin at this stage as well. We want to make sure that there is an adequate lead time to collect necessary application data to support detailed business case and the migration planning. We also want to identify pilot applications to migrate or modernize to move through the Mobilize phase more quickly and efficiently. Depending on how much support you will need in attaining these objectives, AWS can either conduct workshops, briefings, immersion days, working sessions, or propose an engagement with relevant AWS teams. For instance, the security briefing workshop is a great mechanism to educate key stakeholders in your organization on AWS security model and on how you can fortify application security with the use of various AWS and technology partner security solutions. It will also clarify how you can achieve compliance with security regimes and regulations when running your workloads in AWS. If there are any gaps in AWS skills in your organization, we may help you identify a training leader and recommend taking AWS Technical Essentials course for relevant stakeholders. Or maybe engage AWS training team for a detailed learning needs assessment. If help is required in providing justification to your leadership prior to embarking on a large-scale migration, we can engage AWS Cloud Economics teams to deliver a compelling, broad-level business case based on all areas of cloud value, such as cost savings, staff productivity, operational resilience, and business agility. Again, the prioritized list of actions incorporates AWS lessons learned from supporting many migrations over the years. It is centered around jobs to be done at each phase of a migration journey and risks which may result in delays. We develop various mechanisms that can be used to address those critical risks and to ensure high velocity of your cloud journey. The facilitator and account team will use their awareness of your business, assessment results, and various offerings to propose the right combination of actions to take, which may include some or all of those featured here. And as I already mentioned, after the MRA results readout, workshop participants will leave the room with a clear understanding of what is going to happen after the closure of the MRA, with specific tasks assigned to them. This might include tasks like reviewing the entirety of the MRA-generated actions and assigning owners, scheduling specific briefings that are high priority, or reviewing the Mobilize proposal. These items will include the target dates and the owners. So it's very action-oriented, and along with all the actions collected as part of the MRA experience, can be imported into your project management tool for delivery and progress tracking. And with that, I will turn it over to Todd to provide us with a summary and links to additional resources.
Okay, so now you've completed the pre-workshop exercises. The team participated in the self-assessment workshop with its team activities and CAF-based questions, and you've received the readout with the AWS best practice insights and recommendations. You've already gained the value that comes from bringing your whole team together and aligning on a common set of goals and a common view of your current state and areas of opportunity to grow. Now what? Well, Don't get overwhelmed, and don't try to do everything at once. And by all means, don't communicate the results as a pass-fail grade or an indication of chances of success, but do start moving. The outputs of the MRA give you a roadmap to follow, including the very next right steps to put on the calendar and plan. So work the gaps, train the team, drive towards your first migration experience, even if it's only a handful of applications. Regardless, start moving and draw on your AWS and our partner organizations to get some action traction. As you have seen, we will help you prioritize and plan the right sequence of parallel activities to accelerate your initiative with a focus on reaching your end of migration objectives. If this is your first or your nth migration, there may be someone on your team that still needs to be brought along for your initiative to be a success. We have a ton of publicly available resources and references and are eager to get an MRA positioned at the right time with your team to accelerate your progress. Hopefully, this session has given you confidence in moving forward with your migration, trust in engaging AWS or one of our partners to help with that journey, and faith in the framework and related mechanisms such as the MRA to assure you are prepared to deliver on your targeted outcomes from operating more in the cloud. And hopefully you can see how the MRA is a core mechanism to unlock, unblock, and declock your migration initiative. And with that, we thank you and ask if there's any questions.